Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Kartoffelek playing in the Tier 7 Standard American Medium Tank. Why did I feel like I had to say Standard? That's because most of the really incredible replays that I've been watching on What Replays recently have been Premium Tanks. I don't know about you, but it's so boring. And so to see Kartoffelek having an absolute killer game, although I'm not going to spoil the outcome in his T20, trust me, it's going to be killer, win, lose or draw here. It was just such a breath of fresh air. Now, bizarrely enough, I haven't featured this tank on my channel in the last 6 or 7 years. Now, is that because the tank is absolutely garbage? Well, no, I don't think that's the case. There's lots of things to like about the T20. It has a 90mm main armament that you pretty much only get on Tier 8 tanks, 240 alpha damage. Although, thinking about it now, Wargaming is starting to slam in 240 alpha damage even at Tier 6, which is a bit crazy. There's other things like 390 meters view range, which allows you to spot for yourself very well indeed. And combine that with decent penetration, 160mm on its standard rounds and over 240 on its premium rounds, allow it to compete irrelevant of the matchup, which I guess these days is very beneficial because more often than not you are bottom tier. No, that's not the reason why I haven't featured the T20 on the channel. It's because, yeah, there's kind of this other Tier 7 medium tank that I might be just a little bit famous for playing. Of course, it's the Comet. I adore the Comet. It's got 2 extra degrees of gun depression. Its DPM is pretty much a third higher than the T20, so when you really do get to let rip, you do take out your opponents quicker. And while you've got less view range and arguably a little bit less mobility, and your gun handling is a little bit worse on the Comet and you have to fire so often. Yeah, it's still, for me, my personal favourite tank. But then again, I can imagine if I was to get myself a very good crew on the T20 to try and make up for that poor DPM, and just amplify all of the strengths it already has, I can imagine this thing being absolutely voracious in the current matchmaking system. And Kartoffelek is going to show us exactly why the T20, in the hands of a player who knows how to use it, can be absolutely devastating. Firstly, Kartoffelek is playing on the fairly new Stajanki map, which is the Polish map, and he is advancing down the northern flank. Now, of course, on this map, most of the heavy tanks are going to situate themselves towards the center, and it turns into this brawl from one end to the other. And so if you're in a medium tank or a light tank, if you're able to take this northern position and work these ridge lines here and then use the bushes to advance, it can be absolutely huge. The only problem is, when you're playing your medium tanks here, that if you do eventually manage to advance to this location, then you do create a bit of a crossfire. Enemies can locate up here and get shots into the side, and if the heavy tanks have strong turrets and strong hull armor, it can be incredibly tricky to be able to take them out. But not tricky for Kartoffelek, as he finishes off the KV2, but of course that thing doesn't have the best armor at all. He fires through the wall there to try and sling one into the KV3, unable to do so even with the premium rounds on this tank. But I have to admit, these premium rounds, if he was firing standard rounds against a KV3, they would probably be bouncing off from the side there, but not so much from this frontal angle if he can hit right into the mid plate. And while the T20 doesn't kill anything quickly, when you get into this scenario, it just feels so consistent. And just taking chunks out of a Tier 7 heavy tank so reliably from a distance of, what are we at here now? We're at like 300 meters or something. I couldn't quite see because of the black outline. 278 meters. That's not anything to kind of shrug at. It's definitely one of the strengths of the tank, and all the T20 drivers out there will have already known that and will be loving the tank for that capacity. Alright, absolute dream here. Look at this. Kartoffelek is on a ridgeline in a bush with a bunch of very soft targets spotted for him. He can spot a T-34-85M, he can see a TOG, and of course he is going for the TOG. That gigantic XP immobile pinata is basically a sitting duck for Kartoffelek right now, but instead he chooses to kill the T-34-85M. But yeah, just a tracking shot on this on the side of the T-34-85M. However, when you're firing at the British heavy tank, it's going through every single time, right? I'm not going to act surprised. I mean, the people who buy the TOG, it should come with a bit of a health warning on. Warning, this tank, while it can be tons of fun with a bunch of friends with its preferential matchmaking, more often than not, yeah, you're going to have a bit of a hard one. And I tell you what, Kartoffelek should actually thank the TOG driver for signing up in this game, because the TOG driver with preferential matchmaking, this is as bad as it can be for him, so he's actually created quite a fun game for the T20 to be in. So, you know, TOG drivers out there, you should give yourself a pat on the back for giving Tier 7 tanks decent matchmaking, right? I digress. Let's focus at what's at hand. And that is that Kartoffelek is deciding to not push forwards here. I'm quite surprised about this. If I was him, having controlled the center of the map here, and now once you've dug the heavies out, you can just advance over to this ridgeline and start to poke up and use your vision and the excellent vision of the T20 to start to get some spots out. But he also has to be worried about tank destroyers sitting in the bushes here. You won't be able to spot those, and especially even if you advance over the ridgeline, you survive the enemy's line of fire and you get closer to them, these bushes are still going to protect them. And so I guess he realizes that. He's probably played as a junkie, and he doesn't want to advance into the line of fire in a vehicle that has very poor armor. Yet the T20, to go with the fact that it doesn't have the best DPM, it also doesn't have the best resilience under fire, which is probably why it's not quite my tank. I like to get myself into aggressive, dangerous situations where I'm using my armor and using my raw firepower of the tank to shoot my way out of them. I like to try and make the action high intensity and exciting, because obviously when I'm streaming this game, Water Tanks is quite a slow game, and if you do sit at the back, I just don't feel like it's going to be entertaining for the audience. But it's not like I'm playing just for them, I'm also playing for myself. That is my playstyle. That's how I've always liked to play in video games. Get up in people's faces and just may the best tank or the best man win in the situation, right? Alright, so Kartoffelek spots out the, gosh, I forgot who he was shooting there. He was shooting the T-43. That's a very valuable tank to have vanquished on the enemy team. That T-43, his opposite number was on 3 kills, and he's definitely assisted his team with that tracking damage against the T-43 to now even the score up just a little bit. However, his team is still down by 3 kills. But considering he got hit by the Hellcat, he knew exactly where this lightly armored American Tier 6 tank destroyer was, right above him. But now with 10 degrees of gun depression and the great alpha damage of the T20, he's able to trade back very efficiently. And the final little bit of spotting done for his GW Panther. Kartoffelek here is up to 3,000 damage. It's bizarre that he's only managed to pick up 2 kills, because doing 3,000 damage in a tier 7 tank is a gigantic game. And yet Kartoffelek still has pretty much about 80-90% of his hit points remaining. This is going to be an exciting round. He is pretty much putting the team on his back right now. He's going to have to go to a chiropractor if he manages to survive this battle afterwards for the amount of carrying he has been doing. Alright, so now a lovely, juicy XP Pinata Tog 2 star. I don't think you can say the Tog 2 without the star after it, right? The star is for special, I guess. Yeah, definitely. That's what we're going to go with. But I tell you what, he definitely is a very special Tog. He's driving straight towards the action right now and caught right in front of this American 90mm gun. This is not where you want to be in a Tog, and this is exactly where you want to be with a T20. I can't think of many tanks that I am more excited to see on the enemy team than a Tog. Apart from, I guess, when I'm playing in my tier 4s. But even when I'm playing my tier 4s, I'm just thinking big, meaty tank that I can feast on and get lots of experience. A lot of people don't take into account the fact that, kind of combine those two sentences, that's what happens when you're trying to do commentary on the spur, that when you're shooting at tanks that are 1 tier higher than you, you actually get 10% extra experience than if you damage something. Oh, hold that thought. Oh god, the IKB ends up on his side. That is an easy kill, securing Kartoffelek's 3rd kill. But a lot of people don't take into account that if you damage tanks that are higher tier than you, you actually get 10% extra experience per tier they are higher. So back in the day, when tier 5 light tanks used to be able to fight tier 10 heavy tanks, that's why my highest experience of all time is still in the VK2801. But we're going to have to hold that for a different story or a different video, because now Kartoffelek is in a very tricky scenario, surrounded by a Dicamax, a KV2 above him, a P43 who's already managed to hit his tank once, taking off 228 hit points. Surrounding him, the Tog has managed to get it into position as well, and Kartoffelek rolls low, leaving the Tog on a few hit points there. The artillery shells narrowly missing around him, and cap pressure from heavy tank number 6 on the enemy team. Wow, this is some serious pressure right now on Kartoffelek. How is he going to get out of this one? Well, first up, let's finish off the Dicamax. Next up, let's use the focus from the P43 against the artillery. Hopefully he's going to connect this one. This is such an important shell right into the back of the tank. I think Kartoffelek might be panicking a little bit now, but he's got to remain calm under pressure. Going to put one right through the front of the P43, and that tier 6 Italian medium tank is showing what a 90mm gun on a tier 6 can do. Oh my lord, 500 damage if you include the other shell as well there. 700 damage dealt to Kartoffelek from that P-43. That's absolutely disastrous. And now his hit points are down to 251. He's pretty much a one-shot against most of the enemy vehicles. And for a minute there, he is in a 1 versus 5 situation. And he fires clutch on the move, dodges heavy tank number 6. And yeah, he had to take his chance there. If he'd sat still, the heavy tank would have been able to hit him. Maybe the TOG would have got him in the side. The KV-2 from above, possibly even the artillery would have been able to splash him. But with 2 precision shots, now Kartoffelek has changed his 1 versus 5 into a 1 versus 2. But with that TOG penetrating the turret armor of the T-20, even though Kartoffelek is on 7 kills, his job is not done. He's got a KV-2 up towards the north. He's got an artillery who's going to be putting pressure on him from the southeast of this map. The KV-2 spotted out in the open. Kartoffelek's sixth sense goes off, which means the KV-2's view range is not that bad. Panics a little bit, looks around. It's neck and neck stuff right now. He's going to go forwards. He knows that the KV-2 is most likely using high explosive rounds, and high explosive rounds can't go through soft objects like the wall, so he's trying to use that to his advantage. Will he be able to put in a second round? He fires right through the wall. Now the KV-2 is down to 162 hit points. The KV-2 stops in the open, realizing, okay, the wall is down, maybe I can shoot through it to be able to take out Kartoffelek's tier 7 medium tank. But the KV-2 now continues to advance towards him. Kartoffelek is using the building behind him, that ruined building behind him, to avoid damage from the enemy artillery. And just thinking about what he's going to do right now. Does he hold his position to avoid the artillery, to wait for the KV-2 to try and make a push and then shoot through his turret? Or does he try and do something else? The AMX on his team, who basically allowed him to be able to finish off that tier 6 Italian medium tank, tells him to go left. Looks like Kartoffelek was thinking the same thing, or maybe he's just listening to him. And where did the KV-2 go? There he is, behind the building. And Kartoffelek sees the KV-2 is reversing with his big old rear of his hull round the corner, so he can finish one right into the back of the tank, and the artillery narrowly misses him. Okay, ladies and gents, now it's starting to get tense. 5,700 damage in a tier 7 medium tank, 8 kills, and Kartoffelek has changed his 1 versus 5 into a 1 versus 1 as he drives past the wreck of the IKV there. We've got to stop and watch this. This is hilarious. It looks like what happened is the IKV put one of his tracks over the ramp and then turned his tank and ended on the side. It's almost as Wargaming have designed this just to troll Swedish tank destroyers. But let's focus on what's at hand, and that is that we're going into a very tense situation here. S-51 could be anywhere in these bushes. Hasn't been spotted all game. The S-51 has also shown his combat prowess with 2 kills. Is he going to add Kartoffelek's T-20 to his tally here? Kartoffelek, this is just absolutely nervous. You're making me shake right now with excitement as to what's going to happen in this replay. Is the S-51 going to be able to find Kartoffelek's tank? Luckily, Kartoffelek does have 6th sense, and so if it goes off, that means that he is going to be spotted. Okay, so far so good. There's the F-51 right in front of him. S-51 turns. S-51 derps the shell into the building. Kartoffelek hits his first shell, salutes the sky with excitement, and he is going to finish off the S-51, who goes off with a resounding ammo rack. Ladies and gentlemen, what a finish to this game of World of Tanks. There aren't many things that are more beautiful than finishing off Soviet self-propelled guns, to get a Kolobanov's medal, and to get a very rare ammo rack as well. This had everything that I love about commentating on your awesome World of Tanks replays. And boy, Kartoffelek is rewarded for his carrier. Radley Walters medal for his 9 kills, the one that everybody wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, a patrol duty for providing support to enable his allies to shoot tanks that he was spotting, a defender medal for protecting the cap in the nick of time against that heavy tank number 6, and a high caliber medal for 6,052 damage dealt, nailing Kartoffelek 2,226 base experience points. Look, that would have been an ace tanker if that was the amount of experience he got with a premium account. And even though he fired a bunch of premium rounds here, Kartoffelek still makes a fairly decent profit. So Kartoffelek, congratulations to you, and thank you so much for uploading your replay on the What Replays website for the community to enjoy. I personally loved it from the first time that I watched it, and I knew that it was a great opportunity to christen the T20 on this channel. So ladies and gents, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about the T20 in the comments down below. Do you think the damage per minute of this tank just holds it back too much? Or is it a hidden gem that you play on a regular occurrence? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.